Okay, welcome everybody to the Snowy Valleys Council ordinary meeting. This is the first of our meetings held by through the internet and streamed. So first up, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners, custodians of the land, and pay respects to elders past and present. This meeting is streamed on Council's website to allow the community to follow Council debates and discussions. Members of the public participating in the meeting agree to have their image, voice and personal information, including name and address, recorded and publicly broadcast. Snowy Valleys Council does not accept liability for any defamatory remarks or inappropriate comments that are made during the course of the meeting, and any part of the meeting that is held in closed session will not be streamed. Please, councillors, make sure that your mobile phones and electronic devices are turned off or in silent mode. I'll now move to the agenda. Councillors, the agenda for the ordinary meeting of the 16th of April. Do we have any apologies and leave of absence?
Can we put in a leave of absence for John Latta? He's been called away for work.
Thank you. Any other?
Mr. Mayor, if we just note leave of absence of Shelley Jones as well, please.
Okay, thank you. Happy with that, Councillor Ham? Do I have a seconder for those two? Councillor Cross, thank you. Councillors, all in favour?
Yeah.
That's unanimous, thank you. Councillors, there's no any declarations of pecuniary interest? No declarations. Moving on to public forum, there's no public forum. Confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting of the 19th of March. Have a mover for that, Councillor Wright, Councillor Cross. Anything arising from those?
Yes. There's 7.1. We brought up the point about asking Minister for Local Government about the cost of a new council, should that occur. I'm just wondering whether that letter's been sent off.
Through the chair, yes, that letter has gone out to the Minister and we've received an acknowledgement of that letter.
Thank you. Anything further?
Could you repeat the mover and the seconder of that, please?
It was Councillor Wright and Councillor Cross. Councillors, put the motion all in favour of the minutes.
Thank you.
It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Pritchard, I can't see your hand go up. It might be just off screen. Got it now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillors, this brings us to the mayoral minute. Do I have a seconder for that mayoral minute? Councillor Ham. Basically, I think it's pretty self-explanatory there, but we're going to need some. Need a bit of help, I think, to carry on. So, anybody else like to speak to that?
If I could, Mr. Mayor, I thank you for putting this in. It's desperately needed. My only thing is, it doesn't seem to have John Barilaro there, and I just thought with his interest in regional affairs that he should be included.
That's a very good pickup. Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to have him in there.
Great.
I'm happy to. Anything further, councillors?
Councillors, just clarifying there on item 4 in that resolution will include the Honorary John Barilaro.
Anyone else? Okay. Councillor Pritchard, you've still got your microphone on, if you can.
Yeah, I'm battling to.
Got it. Thanks. Okay. Nothing further. Put the motion. All in favour? The mayoral minute? Yes, that's good. That's unanimous. Councillors,
Would you like
9.1.
to share screen for that?
I don't think so, Jeannie, because I think that was only a minor
Okay.
adjustment, and the mover and seconder agreed to that.
Okay.
So it's fairly straightforward. Thanks,
Okay.
Jeannie.
Thanks.
Development
Okay.
of Regional Community Strategic Plan. Councillor Cross. Councillor Ham. Councillor Cross.
Look, I think this is a really, really great idea. I think my only concern would be that it could be perceived as an opportunity to create an even larger council by merging those councils within the joint organisation, and the success of it will also depend largely on those participating councils and how transparent they are and what a relationship they have with each other.
Thank you, Councillor Cross. I don't think the government's got too much of an appetite at the moment for any more merging. That's my opinion. Councillor Ham, do you need to say anything? No?
I quite like the way that it's, you know, we're sharing with other councils and getting ideas from other people rather than reinventing the wheel. And that's just got to be a positive thing. I like the idea that it addresses so many things that further down the track for us, so that can help in further planning and hopefully population expansion in our area, which is one of our aims.
Exactly. Thank you. Councillors, I'll put 9.1, all in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. 9.2, draft information guide. Councillor Wright. Councillor Ham. Speak to it, Councillor Wright. No, thank you. Any other speakers? Put the motion, all in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you. 9.3, governance and financial reports, pecuniary interest return for designated staff member update. Pretty self-explanatory. Councillor Wright, Councillor Ham. Speaking.
No, it looks good to me. It all looks pretty self-explanatory.
Just a change, thank you. Put the motion, all in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you. 9.4, draft caretaker period policy. Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Cross. Councillor Smith.
Given that we have already looked at this prior to the extension of the current council term, and I believe that it is a good policy. So it's to be put off for a little longer now, but the policy will remain the same, I'm sure.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Yes, it gives some clarity. Anything further? Put the motion, all in favour? It's carried. Thank you.
Is that unanimous, Mr. Mayor?
Unanimous, thank you, sorry. Uh, 9.5, statement of investments. Councillor Ham. Councillor Benjamin. Councillor Ham.
Thank you to the CFO for getting this together. Obviously, Treasury is moving around a bit more, but more to the point, some of these questions will probably be more towards Hines, if that's okay with you, Mr. Mayor, just about how the expenditure, we've got, well, maybe Suzanne, I'm sorry, the CFO, could speak on the bushfire grant. We've got 275,000 there. is any more due to be coming in?
I'll ask the CFO.
Through the chair, no, there's nothing at this stage that has been announced, but we do have the Section 44 claim still outstanding.
And how much would that be?
The Section 44 claim is around $1.8 to $2 million.
Thank you. Anything further on the statement of investments?
And well, this one is to Heinz, sorry, is the removal of fire damaged trees. Now, this seems to be quite a controversial issue, particularly a lot of feedback from people down the old Tumbarumba Road. Can you speak on how that's going and how we're going resourcing this?
Executive Director, Mr. Kelly.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, we're continuing with the removal of dangerous trees that are impacting on the safety of our roadways. This is being done under the emergency works for the disaster recovery funding arrangements, so funded through the state. At the moment, our focus is just on trees that are impacting on the roadway. We're still trying to clarify if we can get funding for a broader clean-up of our road corridors from fence to fence. So that's still a level of uncertainty for us at the moment. And in regard to Old Tumba Road, we've been in there a couple of times now to get the dangerous trees out, but certainly haven't been able to do a more detailed clean-up due to the uncertainty around funding to do that.
Thank you. Councillor Smith, you had a question.
Yes, I have two questions. One is regarding the 40% payment to the Batlow Caravan Park cabins. Can we have some information about what is happening with those cabins and the filling of them and the uptake of the offer for people who are displaced by the fires? And the other question is the deposit paid on the Batlow Library building. I wonder if we can also have some update on how that building is going and when that is due for completion.
I'll put those questions through the general manager, the general manager, I think.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yes, in regards to the Batlow Caravan Park and the displaced persons units that we've put in there to accommodate those people impacted by bushfires, we have actually contracted that out through a local real estate agent to assist in the vetting process of putting people into those units. And my understanding is that that we currently have people entering into the Tumbarumba unit and the Batlow unit to while they do their reconstruction of their house. And in regards to the Batlow Library, my understanding is that that project is now underway. So that library is now being constructed as per plan and the tender documents that Council accepted last year, and that's been done on site, and it's on schedule to come to town as originally proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde.
Thank you. Nothing further? Put the motion. All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Financial reports for March 2020, 9.6. Councillor Smith, Councillor Ham. Councillor Smith.
No, I have nothing to say about it in particular.
Anything further? Any other councillors? Councillor Ham?
Could I just address my concerns about our year-to-date budget we were going to be in surplus, 1.6. As it is, we're in deficit 3.5, which, is $5.2 million difference. Now, I do understand you through the CFO that we've got another $2 million hopefully coming back from Section 44. However, this is really, really concerning.
Yes, it is, and certainly that's what was the object of the Merrill Minute as well. So it's concerning, and we need to address it. And we need to be very cognizant of it as well.
So can I ask how it is being addressed, apart from the motion?
To put that back through the CEO, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, I might refer this matter to the CFO, who's been working on this one in a fair bit of detail.
Suzanne?
Well, Chair, we've put a report in last month that outlined that we had about $2.4 million just for the bushfires in expenses that haven't been covered by any funding source. And we are lobbying to have that covered from a federal or state funding source, so far without luck, but we are keeping that up.
Thank you.
James, this COVID virus hasn't hit us yet, and it's going to hit us in a bad way. And I don't think we should be spending a cent that we don't have to spend. I think we'll be in trouble. A lot of people will be in trouble with paying their rates, and I think we're really in for a very serious time.
Thank you, Councillor Pritchard.
Yeah,
Councillor
and
Benjamin.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just have a quick question in regards to the page 40 on in the agenda. The community is very thankful that council has waived a little bit of their, or discounted their water bills, but I'd just like to ask that $780,000, are we able to get that through from the government as a, as a grant back to us, or to get reimbursed somehow, or is that on council?
I'll put that to Executive Director Course.
Yeah, through the chair, I might take that one if that's okay. So certainly that 780K has been listed in our advocacy to the state and federal governments if we need some assistance for that. And I believe that that's being evaluated. I don't believe that there's a final decision on that matter.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Ham.
And if I could ask the Director of Infrastructure, the blowout costs, which we've already discussed in council from the cannery, how were they as predicted, or, and they're also something we're advocating for as well, aren't they?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, we got the cannery works are largely complete. Still finalising the final invoices, but we're expecting to come in under the expected budget for that. So we had a really good result in regard to that. And yes, we still need to continue advocating for funding to cover that.
Councillor Cross.
Surely we're not the only council who's facing this huge economic downturn. Surely other councils will be involved, and won't there be some kind of lobbying from the local government or from the from Councillor Scott with regard to all of this to help us out?
Yes, look, I can answer part of that. Councillor Scott has phoned me, and we've had a discussion regarding this. We're not the only council, correct? But in fact, she's phoning me right now. But I'll let that go through the message bank. But there are other councils going through the same thing, but we seem to be worse affected than most. And going into the future, it's looking pretty dire, given the fact that the softwood industry takes so long to recover. So that's a major issue for us.
The whole country will be going into depression. There'll be no spare money anywhere.
I'll take that as a comment, Councillor Pritchard. Anything further? I'll put the motion. All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. 10.1, Montreal Community Theatre variation of lease. Councillor Wright, Councillor Benjamin, any discussion?
I'd be just
Councillor Benjamin?
to know what
Councillor
the,
Wright first. Councillor Wright.
oh, sorry, I'd just be interested to know what the cost is to us of, you know, for R&M and rates and all that sort of stuff that cost. I'm not arguing it at all, but I just think it should be interested that we should know what it all costs.
Certainly, we can ask for a breakdown of the ongoing costs, the depreciation, rental assistance, the like of that. Yeah.
Through the chair, councillors will produce a profit and loss based on the arrangements with them about what they're responsible for, what we're responsible for, and what the total cost to council is, and we'll distribute that around to the councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde.
Thank you.
Councillor Benjamin, you had a question?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. No, Councillor Wright's already asked it. All good. Thank you.
Thank you. Put the motion, all in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. 10.2 has been withdrawn and becomes 10.5, which takes us to 10.3. Draft local strategic planning statement public exhibition. Councillor Ham. Councillor Benjamin.
Yeah, just happy to have this support this being put on public exhibition and encourage people to actually read it and make comments.
Make submissions. Thank you. Nothing further? Councillor Pritchard?
There's some things on that that I really don't know whether we've really agreed to. Yeah, I think that Brindabella Road, for example, I think that's really off the agenda with what's happening to the economy. And just take a moment to think what would have happened if that Brindabella Road had been in now with this coronavirus outbreak, and we had through traffic from the southern states through to Canberra through Tumut. We'd be at the front line of the virus infection. I really think that the government's got no money to do it. So I don't think it'll happen anyway, but I don't think we should have it on the plan at all. But that's a matter of debate, I guess. But I think the rail trail expansion that's on there, I can't remember that going through council. I think it's living in dreamland that we're going to have the Batlow to Tumut rail trail put in. We've spent $4-point-something million on the, or the government's given us the money to spend on the Tumbarumba to Rosewood one. And we agreed that, the council agreed that we don't do further rail trails until we fully assess the viability of that rail trail. So to put things in there that are not feasible, I think is misleading people.
Thank you.
And we don't know what's going to be the outcome of this coronavirus economic thing, and really think we need to put this on hold and look at it in the next year when we know where we're going.
However, Councillor Pritchard, there are some other very important things in this that we will we'll have to move forward on. So, you know, some of them will take greater priority over the others, I'm sure.
One thing that I can't get both things up at once on my computer at the moment, but I think that it doesn't mention the small hobby farms we should be looking at around Batlow area.
Yes, we've mentioned that quite a few times, and hopefully in the new LEP we'll take that into consideration.
I must say at the moment it's interesting to be in the main street and look at the number of people looking at real estate in this area. I think we're going to have when things settle down, we'll have a building boom here as people get used to this type of technology that we're using at present and running their business from rural areas. And I can't see any other way than for our real estate to go up. That's just my personal opinion. Yeah.
Thank you. Sia.
Mr. Mayor, can I just note that this is the recommendation from the officers is to put this out for public display and public comment. And we do have a timeline with this. It has been under construction for quite a long period of time, and it hasn't been updated in relation to the COVID situation. However, I think it's still relevant to go out for that consultation period now.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further? Put the motion. All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Takes me to 10.4, draft community participation plan and draft crime prevention plan. While I'm waiting for a mover, can I just say it's great to have the draft crime prevention plan out there eventually. Councillor Cross and Councillor Ham. Councillor Cross.
Totally agree. It's great to have both. I think it really clarifies everything. I'm looking forward to us being able to use the crime prevention program to lobby for more grants for particularly things like street lighting, which is absolutely abysmal in our town.
Thank you, Councillor Cross. Anything further? Councillor Pritchard.
With the virus and the unemployment that's going to come out of this, the crime rate will go up substantially because of there won't be the simple jobs around anymore. And we need to put our mind about job generation, for like the maintenance of the human walking track and the other walking tracks, and try and divert attention into getting these high employment activities going.
Thank you, Councillor Pritchard. Councillor Usselman.
I just like to bring to the attention, not to be disrespectful, Councillor Cross, but the crime prevention is not just for Tumut, not just our town, but right across the Shire. And lighting is an issue.
Yes, sorry.
Lighting is an issue right across the Shire as well.
Thank you, Councillor Usselman. Councillor Wright.
Yeah, I just think with the crime prevention plan, I think police were talking to us about having the cameras, face recognition cameras, like in all the towns on the way through, so that they can help identify some of these people. I think it's great that we're going to go for it. It's going to be really good.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Benjamin.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just need some clarification in regards to, do we have funding for CCTV cameras around our townships or not? I got asked the question by a few residents, and I just need some clarification whether we do have funding or not.
From my knowledge, we don't have funding, but this will give us the opportunity to apply for funding.
Great, thank you.
My question is, with this plan, are we able now to add to it? Should we find that there's been something omitted, or can we amend it?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, in response to your question, all of our plans try to be active. So if there's a significant issue that changes the scenario, then we can certainly review those plans and update them with those particular situations. We will have to go back out to consultation if it's a significant change to the document.
Thank you. Nothing further. Put the motion. All in favour? That's unanimous. Carried. Thank you. Takes us to the new 10.5 report on the Ken Coburn Hall, which is a separate document. Councillor Ham, Councillor Cross. Councillor Ham.
I'd just like to congratulate Barumba Chamber of Commerce and Paul Holton for their work together on getting a good understanding how this can actually work together. Pretty incredible that we have a community group putting their hand up and saying that they will take on the project. Can Coburn's been hanging out for their hall to be fixed for quite some time, and it's, you know, I mean, it was a great initiative that someone applied for the funding. The funding was successful, and now we have a community group happy to manage that, which is fantastic with respect to council. And yeah, congratulations to Paul and Ken Dale for the way they worked through that process.
Thank you, Councillor Ham. Councillor Wright.
I'd like to just support Julia on that, because I think it's fantastic, and we should be running as hard as we can to support those blokes, Chamber of Commerce and Paul and everybody. I think it's just great. It's great to see people doing it for themselves rather than just expecting us to do everything for them and then getting in trouble for doing the wrong thing.
Councillor Isselman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just raising the awareness for that group in particular, that the initiative of a community group doing a project such as this has been set by the Development League and the Literary Institute in Batlow, and could be a good idea to have this group talk to the Batlow Literary Institute group and just sort of check out some of the pitfalls and the positive steps that they had, because both projects are very, very, very good models for our small town communities.
Certainly, Councillor Isselman, and it's not unprecedented. It's been done in Batlow quite successfully by the BDL, and also the Adelong Showground Trust Committee have done the same thing in Adelong. So yeah, it's certainly a model that works, and you know, we'd encourage community groups to work with council to get the best outcomes for their community and for the facilities and infrastructure. Councillor Cross.
Yes, look, I commend the Chamber of Commerce, of course, in getting up and running with this. Look, we've had a lot of issues in the past with projects that haven't been fully scoped, and I wanted to get some clarification from the Director about how the MOU will actually work and facilitate this project and get the best outcome for the Can Coburn community.
Mr. Holton.
Through the chair, yes, the MOU does articulate very clearly what the Tumbarumba Chamber of Commerce is responsible for through the project, including the accountabilities for management of finances and delivering the project on time and on budget. That is alluded to in the recommendation that is before council, noting that the project will not commence prior to the receipt from Tumbarumba Chamber of Commerce a project management plan, an updated cost plan, a risk assessment for delivery, and delivery of program and confirmation of milestones. Those sort of safeguards are built into that to ensure that council isn't exposed to any great risk in terms of project overruns, and that also additionally there will be a project steering group comprising representatives of council, the Tumbarumba Chamber of Commerce, members of the Can Coburn community, and a representative of the funding body.
Excellent.
Thank you. Nothing further? Put the motion. All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Brings us to minutes of committee meetings. The Friends of the Wetlands Committee. Before we move this, can I ask that we put
Mr. Mayor, you've just missed item 11.1, the Disability Inclusion Access Reference Group.
Sorry, disability inclusion. I excluded the inclusion. Sorry. Councillor Cross, Councillor Ham, my apologies there. Nothing.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I attended that meeting and it was very good. We had a representative from Gadara School asking about how the students could access work experience with Snowy Valleys Council, and suggested that they get in touch with Mr. Hyde about that. There was also other issues around toilets and curbing, and I forwarded those questions through to the Director, Hines, and he sent back a very comprehensive email, which I then forwarded on to the committee so that they would have an update on and answers to their queries.
Thank you, Councillor Cross. And yes, it is good that the Gadara schools becoming involved, and some of the other schools who have children with disabilities may also be interested. Anything further?
There was also a query about having hoists available in the accessible toilets, which I'm hoping will be investigated further.
Thank you, Councillor Cross. All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Now we can go to the wetlands. So what I was mentioning was I'd like a point 4 in there if people would agree, that we thank all the former members of the Wetlands Committee for their efforts and in the past, because it's certainly it's a wonderful asset for the community, and it's certainly been used significantly since we started all those years ago, nearly 20 years ago. So do I have a mover with that number 4 put in? Yes, Councillor Smith, Councillor Pritchard.
Mr. Mayor, I was involved in the initiation of this many years ago, and it's done a great job, particularly with Ken Stubbs at the helm. I'd be very sad to see it. I mean, it has to go. I agree with the recommendation completely, but I'd like to see it replaced by perhaps a new committee of volunteers to look at become a Riverwalk committee. In other words, including the wetlands and the Gillett Park and down to the racecourse and perhaps further afield. Perhaps we could think about it and perhaps put a notice of motion up at the next meeting if the councillors are agreeable that we replace. I think it's really a separate motion for this. I think we should let this go through and perhaps put up a notice of motion at the next meeting that we consider the formation of a Riverwalk committee.
Certainly, it could do with some thought, and but it's got a lot of merit to put those like-minded people together. You know, the Wetlands Committee was loosely based around people who were basically environmentalists and bird watchers and the like. So it's been a very successful committee, and the people have been extremely dedicated, and certainly, as you mentioned, Ken Stubbs has been one of the main drivers over those years. Nothing further?
Mr. Mayor, we might just share the screen for that minute with the point 4 on it so the councillors can see what's written in.
Thank you.
You okay to do that? Thank you. They can see point 4 there. Thanks to all the former members of the Tumut Wetlands Committee.
Thank you. Perfect.
Excellent. Can stop that. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, well, that technology works. That's great. Put the motion. All in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Benjamin. Moving on. Tumut Aerodrome Committee. Councillor Lardis away today, but someone like to move that in his absence? Councillor Cross, Councillor Wright. Anything on there? I'll put the motion. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Tumut Saleyards Committee meeting. Just before we move, I'll note that the last elder store sale was held through Auctions Plus, which is a similar format to this in a way, and it was quite successful, as you would have noticed through the paper. So interesting times. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Wright, Councillor Benjamin. Put the motion, all in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Minutes of the Batlow Development League, 4th of March. Councillor Smith. Councillor Benjamin. Anything to add, Councillor Smith?
Yes, well, I make note of the fact, of course, that this is the last of the current series, that because of the virus now we are not able to continue with the Batlow Development League, so there won't be any more minutes for some time, but we look forward to that being reinstated and being renewed with effort after this break of however long this is going to be. And I think the Batlow Development League does fulfil a very important part in the Batlow community, and the people that run it work very hard for the community, and I commend them on their efforts.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Put the motion, all in favour? Carried unanimously. There's no other late reports. Councillors, that brings us to the end of the ordinary meeting. This means we now move into confidential. The Local Government Act provides that council may close to the public that part of the meeting that deals with matters of a confidential nature. Section 10(2) lists that such matters. The grounds on which a meeting is closed to the public must be specified in the decision to close the meeting and recorded in the minutes of the meeting. The recommendation I have here is the council move into confidential to consider the matters listed in the confidential section of the agenda in accordance with section 10(2) of the Local Government Act 1993 for the reasons specified. 12.1 COVID-19 financial implications lease payment relief. 12.2 ICT projects client business environment standardisation. 12.3 food organics garden organics option and implementation. 12.4 Chief Executive Officer's Biannual Performance Review, July to December 2019. Was there a late one as well?
Yes. So 12.5, Mr. Mayor.
12.5, and it is?
The recommendation for the design and construction of the Tumbarumba upgraded Learn to Swim water place pool.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So do I have a mover? Councillor Wright, Councillor Benjamin, all in favour? Okay, we'll move into confidential. Thank you. Thank you. That concludes the confidential section. We now move back into open council. I'd call on the CEO to report on the findings of confidential.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are 5 items in confidential. Item 12.1, the COVID-19 financial implications and lease payment relief. Council resolved. The council received the report on COVID-19 financial implications from the Chief Financial Officer. The council waived the yearly fee for the Tumbarumba Australian Football and Netball Club for the hiring of the Tumbarumba Sports Ground and Netball Courts in 2019-20. Suspend the rent for the lease of the suspend the rent for the lease for the Riverglade Caravan Park and apply a pro rata amount until the reopening of the caravan park. The council delegate the waiving of other rents and lease fees on arrangement and leases impacted by COVID-19 closures to the CEO. The council delegate the extension of payment plans under the financial hardship support arrangements for ratepayers experience prolonged financial hardship due to the COVID-19 to the CEO. The council mandate that payment plans be cleared via direct debt and Centrelink payment arrangements. The council waive all interest on outstanding debts with the exception of debts existing prior to 1 January 2020 until such time as the economic impact of the COVID-19 crisis subsides as determined by the CEO. The council recommends interest on outstanding debts where ratepayer does not maintain their payment arrangement and does not enter into an amended payment arrangement. The council hold all legal action to secure payment of outstanding debts, including letters of demand on all ratepayers with the exception of legal action that has already progressed to the letters of demand and court action as at the end of March 2020. The Council continue to issue the reminder notices for outstanding rates and charges as per Council policy, and the Council advocates with all levels of government to access increased funding in the forthcoming budget. Item 12.2, ICT projects, client business environment and standardisation. Council resolved that the report on the ICT projects, clients, business environment standardisation be received, and the Council approved the selection of Dell as a successful supplier. Item 12.3, food organics, garden organics options and implementation report. Council resolved the Council received this report on the proposed implementation of a food and garden organics collection service and construction of organics processing facility. The Council received the project management plans as per the plan to deliver the projects through to operations, including A, tender design documentation strategy, B, procurement plan including nominated suppliers, C, updated cost plan including allowances and contingencies and project management, D, updated risk assessment for delivery recognising a tight budget and the effects of COVID-19, E, delivery program confirmation of milestones including a new program requiring extension from the New South Wales Environmental Trust. 3, note that the Council Economic Risks and Material Input-Output Modelling Report and the Council note and endorse the legal advice in respect to the operational agreement for the organics processing facility. The Council note and endorse the application to the New South Wales Environmental Trust for a time extension based on the impacts of the bushfires and COVID-19. The Council endorsed proceeding to the procurement and construction stages, and the Council endorsed the updated budget and procurement strategy as detailed in this report, noting that the number of items, services to be nominated and nominated consultants and contractors. 12.4, the Chief Executive Officer's biannual performance review from July to December 2019. The Council received the report on the Chief Executive Officer's annual performance review. The Council endorsed the 2019-20 Chief Executive Officer's performance review. The late item 12.5, the request for tender 2020-01, recommendation for the design and construction of the Tumbarumba upgraded Learn to Swim water play pool. Council resolved the Council received this report on the outcomes of the request for tender RFT 2020-01 for the upgrade of the Tumbarumba pool. Resolved that in accordance with clause 178(1)(b) of the New South Wales Local Government General Regulation 2005 to decline to accept any of the tenders for the design and construction of the Tumbarumba upgraded Learn to Swim water play pool project. The Council resolve in accordance with clause 1783(e) of the New South Wales Local Government General Regulation 2005 to enter into negotiations with any person, whether or not the person was a tenderer, with a view to entering into a contract in relation to the subject matter of the tender. The Council resolve in accordance with section 178(4)(b) of the Local Government New South Wales Local General Regulation 2005 not to invite fresh tenders, noting that it is considered that inviting fresh tenders would not enable the Council to achieve its objectives for the project. The Council advised the tenderers in writing that their tenders were not accepted. The Council authorised the Chief Executive Officer to enter into a contract for the design and construction of the Tumbarumba upgraded Learn to Swim water play pool project, subject to the successful outcome of negotiations. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, councillors, staff, that concludes the meeting for today. Thank you everybody for your attendance and thank you everybody for viewing.